right, hey, thank you for clicking on the video. We are about to jump into the hot lap. We'll run through that, cut back to the track guide, go through each turn. Luckily, there's only a couple of corners here in a Lime Rock, and then we'll go over the setup. Last week was a tough one. I did struggle at Mid-Ohio. I think some of it was a skill issue, but I also feel like I kind of left a little bit on the table with the setup. So I do apologize to anyone who struggled with my set last week. Carl and Justin proved to me that it can go fast, but they are borderline aliens compared to me. So I really try to build my setup for something that works for around my iRating level. I try to make the car stable over the course of the race. And I just missed the mark last week, so I do apologize for that. But we put a lot of extra effort into this week to kind of make up for it. If you could subscribe to the channel, like the video, drop a comment, let me know how your races are going. I'd really appreciate it. That helps the channel a lot. But with that, let's jump into the hot lap, and then we'll meet back here and go through the track walk.
That was your fastest lap of the session.
All right, we are back. As far as that hot lap, it's a 55.186. I feel like that's a pretty decent lap. My optimal actually could go below a 55, but just barely. I tried to push for that. You can see there I did a couple runs. Typically with my setups, lap 4, 5, 6 is when things kind of come together, and you kind of can maintain that pace throughout the race. Lime Rock is a very strange one. It's almost more like an oval, and it reminds me a lot of Willow Springs in the fact that you're really abusing one side of the car, so you have to kind of manage that. I was more aggressive this week on the setup, and it kind of aimed more for a oval mindset. But I think it's quick, I think it's reliable, I think it's drivable, and yeah, with that, let's jump into the track walk, and then we'll look at the setup afterwards. So just changing cameras here. I'm gonna start this track walk back in turn 7. To get a good lap time, you want to hit turn 7 right. Carl mentioned something in Discord that's really kind of stuck with me. I've always felt it, but never knew how to put it in words. iRacing really favors the exit of a corner. If you get to the apex right and get the perfect exit off the corner, there's nothing you can gain attacking the entry that's going to offset what you're going to gain on exit. For whatever reason, I don't know if it's something just with their physics model, their tire model, but you can attack the entry and maybe gain a quarter of a second, but you're never going to maintain that down the straight. If you hit the apex right and get the drive off right, you're going to gain a half second, where maybe you could gain a quarter second on entry, but you're going to give that up. And I think Lime Rock really amplifies that. So we're going to kind of aim for turn number 7 here first. Let me see if I can get the camera adjusted real quick. Kind of lower us out a little bit. So just going slow mode, wrong direction. Oh, actually, it helps if I show my brake pedal. Going into turn 7 here, you do want to do a little bit of braking as you kind of fall into the valley. Turn 6, 7, even the turn before the jump, I think that would be turn 5. You you don't have to do a lot of braking. The M2 doesn't like very aggressive inputs. It likes nice, slow, smooth inputs. It doesn't like to throw the weight around. The shocks in this car suck. I've really struggled getting my head wrapped around them. I think because of the way they are, they're like a compound shock. You don't get to adjust rebound and compression. I think I used the right terms. Separately, you have just one straight adjustment. And I think because of that, the car really likes low inputs. So going into turn 7 here, very light, very just dragging the brake to kind of get the car where I want it to on entry. I actually missed the apex a little bit. You kind of see the car gets a little bit of rotation there. At that point is when I start to get back to the throttle because I want to use up as much track as possible on exit. So I'm really wide here, using up as much track as possible. Getting a good launch out of 7 is going to really set up your lap. I've been as much as 2 to 3 tenths off getting to turn 1, depending on how I hit turn 7. So getting turn 7 right is key. It gets trickier as the race goes on because you really abuse those left side tires, but always take it easier into 7 because if you maximize your exit, that's where you're going to gain the most time. But we're going to run down here. Pretty straightforward. You're going to stick to the left-hand side of the track to really arc it in for the right-hander. Braking for this corner is a little tricky. I kind of treat turn 1 and 2 as just one big sweeping corner. You can brake as far as the 3 board. I like to start braking around the 4 board just because, and we'll see where I kind of get off the gas and get on the brake here. So I start to apply brake pressure right at the 4, and I'm actually a little late getting off the throttle. So if you look there, I'm on the throttle or releasing the throttle as I apply the brake, but I start to get my foot on the pedal, start putting pressure on just before the 4 board. I have a hard time saying that. It probably sounds like floorboard. On the 4 on the left-hand side. Again, you can attack the brakes a little harder on the 3, but I don't think you're gaining any time on that. You might need to in traffic, but realistically, just slowly applying pressure to the brake pedal, easing off the throttle is going to keep that car settled very nicely as you attack turns 1 and 2. You can see there, hopefully on my brake trace, I'm slowly pulling off the brake pressure. The biggest thing is I don't want to, if I let off the brakes too fast, that's going to kind of drop the weight of the car and it gets a little squirrely. Again, the M2 really likes you to control its transitional movement. So don't be too aggressive on anything. No, not too aggressive on throttle, not too aggressive on brake. I try to work some of that out with the setup, but it's just the nature of the car. But we're going to basically release the brake pressure, get down to the apex of 1, and then I like to use that lighter asphalt as kind of a guide to guide myself around the corner. If you could kind of hit it or just get to the right of it on entry, you're going to be in a really good spot. I drift wide here a little bit, but I get my, let me slow down there. I get my right side tires inside of it. And I try to really dance that edge as I rotate the car around to the apex of 2. If you can, we'll go back here just a moment. I need a program fast forward. Realistically, like I said, I try to treat 1 and 2 as one giant arc. And by the time I get to the apex between 1 and 2, I like to get back to the throttle and kind of dance the car with the throttle a little bit. And I put a little bit of brake there just to kind of resettle it a little bit, but I'm mostly using the throttle to turn the car. And then once I get to the bottom of 2, it's all about just getting the power down. I had a little bit of counter steer there. You can swing wider on exit and use up more of the track, but I personally feel the nature of the M2, if you do that, it's too hard to get back to the right-hand side for really the only left-hander on the track. I didn't mean to move the camera there. So I obviously get all the way back to the right, because I'm going to make the left-hander here. With the way the car is set up, you don't want to attack the left-hander too hard. One, the nature of the track, you don't want to attack it too hard. But two, I'm running cross weight in the car. The cross weight I'm running is favoring the right hand corners. But it's going to make it a little tighter on the left hand corners. So that's just, or I'm sorry, the left hand corners. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind as you're setting up turns 3. I believe this is turn 3. On a track map here so I can make sure I get it right. Yeah, that's 3. The next one's 4. Okay. I'm bad at remembering these numbers here. But yeah, slow-mo here. Just dragging the brake, using that to rotate the car. Once I get to the lighter asphalt, I try to keep to the left of it. And I definitely don't want to take a big sweeping exit. I want to hug the left-hand side because turn 4 is actually very critical. If you swing wide out on the exit of 3, you're out of position for turn 4. So I try to hug close. I try to keep it as tight as I can. And you can even see where people have worn away the grass there on the left-hand side. It's really critical to keep to the left so you have a good turn 4. You can see I'm kind of dancing the throttle there. This corner doesn't really need much brake. You just got to figure out how much to let off the throttle. You don't really want to hit that curb there on the right-hand side. It will upset the car. Most curbs upset them too. It's a very finicky car on there. If you were to hit the curb, just don't be too aggressive with the throttle. Let it settle itself. If you try to power and drive through it, it's just a recipe for disaster. But yeah, right there. Now here you can swing wide, take a lot of the exit. I like to just use the curb. If you see a spot where the grass is worn down because people are abusing it, that's usually a sign you want to use that much of the track. But that's pretty much turn 4. Turn 4 is important, but realistically, you got to set up turn 3 right to get turn 4 right. But yeah, pretty straightforward there, I think. There's really no, like I said, no braking involved. It's just about how you dance with the throttle pedal. I have been running the dry fuel throttle mapping. Some people have a lot of success with the wet fuel mapping. I actually played with it at Mid-Ohio. I'm keep it mapped to my steering wheel in the same location I use brake bias in any other car. I want to have quick access to it if it rains in the car. But as the tires get hot, I might experiment with it this week. Personally, I found it better at Mid-Ohio with the dry because I needed the throttle to help rotate the car. I think the nature of this track, you're not going to need that. So that's one thing to kind of keep in mind. But yeah, turn 4, don't hit the inside curb, walk out your exit, and obviously turn 3 is key. This little kind of kink in the back straightaway can be a little tricky depending on how loaded up the car is. I think my setup's pretty good. You might see some people get in a little trouble on exit, so just be mindful. And here comes the funnest part, or most dangerous part of the track, depending on your mindset. Turn 5. So, like most corners, you want to use as much track as possible. I'm sticking myself as far over to the left as possible. But as I kind of get onto the brakes here, see here, there's just a little bit of a bump. And then I like to just barely drag some brake, not a lot. And I kind of keep a little bit of brake pressure all the way down to the apex. As you exit turn 5, it's imperative the car stays straight. You don't want that weight shifted over onto the left rear at all. If you do, as you go over the crest, it is going to be sketchy. I've wrecked a couple times going over the crest. It is very easy to do it if you're not being careful. Don't take that turn for granted. Get the weight of your car centered. The way my setup is this week with the shocks and everything, you're always going to be kind of just a little bit swinging the weight as you crest the hill. But if you're going to attack turn 5 really aggressively, if you need to back off before you jump, back off before you jump. Finishing the race is the only way to win the race. But you can see here, the car comes off the ground for just a moment. And let me change cameras before I mess up my camera angle. So yeah, no, we are. This is probably gonna what the thumbnail's gonna be there. So yeah, no, you don't necessarily jump, but yeah, no, there's 4 tires off there. So yeah, you just be careful over that crest. I don't think there's a lot of time to be gained by being overly aggressive, but there's a lot of risk. Get this to go back up here. Pretty much speed up here. Once you get the car settled, you want to get it landed back straight. Again, left side of the track. There's just a lot of right-hand corners here. This corner though is a little deceptive. I use about the same amount of brake for turn 5 as I do for turn 6. I use a little less in turn 7. The one thing is you want to do the braking in this corner in a straight line. So I try to get all my braking done and then just ease off the pedal. So as I'm turning in, I'm easing off the pedal. I use the lighter asphalt as my guide. Try to get to the curb. Again, don't hit the curb. If you do, it's going to upset the car. Don't freak out though. If you do hit it and upset the car, just be patient, getting it collected. There's no need to be overly aggressive there. And yeah, I try to get as close as I can there. Right there where there's the crossroad, there's a very aggressive divot there. That's really going to upset the car. But like I said, I try to get all my braking done, or majority of my braking done, in a straight line, release pressure and trail off into the corner. And then once I'm at the apex, just apply power and walk it off, using as much of the track as you can on exit. I actually have a little bit of a tail wag there, but coming in to turn 7, adjust the camera for this corner. We just let off the throttle, apply a little bit of brake. You can see there about half as much brake pressure as I used in turn 5 and 6. Keep just using that to get down to the apex. You can see here, actually, I get to the apex. I didn't the lap before, but get down to the apex, ease the power back on, ease it on. I get to a point where I could get full throttle. I walk it all the way out and straight run down to the line. So hopefully that was helpful. Lime Rock in my head is an oval. You just turn right with one left-hand corner. It's an oval with extra steps. But yeah, no, I'm really happy with the setup. Hopefully that's helpful. We are going to get into the setup now. Let me switch over to the garage here. And I'm just going to zoom in edit so we can kind of see this. Dry tire, it's not supposed to rain. 26 PSI left, 27 right, 26 left on the rear, 27 and a half on the right rear. You really abuse that left rear. And just for everyone using metric, 179 kilopascals, 186, 179, 190. So that's for the air pressure. Again, we're running more pressure on the right. Basically, we really abuse the left as they build up pressure. We're hardly using the right at all. And even for reference, I think I did a 5 or 6 lap run. I literally gained 1/10 of a pound of pressure. Once the tires come up to temp here, I gained 1.7 pounds of pressure on the left rear. The right sides aren't doing any work. Jumping over to the chassis. ARB, I actually went to 1 this week. Just the way the track is, how bouncy it is, I found the 1 on the ARB just to be better. It was the first thing I changed and immediately picked up like 2/10. So pretty confident in that setting. Toe in, I went more aggressive with the toe. We were heating up the rears so much that I felt I could get more aggressive with the toe, really help the stability on turn in, and not overheat the fronts. Just referencing here, that was, I'm going to say, let's say 178 to 187. That is what's at a 9-degree difference in Fahrenheit. In metric, we're talking 5 degrees Celsius. Initially, it was almost a 12 to 13 degree Fahrenheit difference. So getting more aggressive with the toe really stabilized the car. The back end is still a little free, a little snappy, but I think that was a very smart setup change. Now one thing, cross weight, I'm at 50 and a half. I went all the way up to 51%. This is just kind of like a quick lesson here. Sorry. Cross weight is a very common setting you'll deal with on oval racing. When I used to race go-karts, I used to love 49.7% cross. Like that was what I liked in my go-karts for oval racing. You really chase that. Cross weight traditionally is the measurement from your right front to your left rear. Some cars on iRacing measure it different. The way I did it growing up, it's right front to left rear. But it's basically, think of it like a line you draw across the car. In fact, I'm going to change this up here. Let's see. Does this Control F12? How do I do this? Okay. So if you kind of imagine a line of weight across your car, so your left rear, right front, that's one straight line. And then you're going to go from your left front to your right rear. Cross weight is basically that measurement in a straight line. I don't know if you can see my mouse or not. Okay, cool. Having 50.5% cross weight means I have more weight in this line here from left rear to right front than I have the other way. And if you kind of think about it, let's get the car to the corner. As you're entering a corner, which line would you rather drag around the corner? The line of weight that is, let's just say, angled to the corner, or the line of weight that's angled away from the corner? So in an oval application, you're turning left, having negative cross weight or more weight from the right rear to the left front makes the car freer and easier to turn. That's the same principle I'm bringing this week to Lime Rock, but because it's a lot of right-handers, I'm having most of my weight go from left rear to right front. So that's kind of why I'm doing that. And like for years, I couldn't really explain it properly until it clicked one day. Just imagine if you drew a line from each corner of the car, so you have an X. Which line would you rather drag around the corner? Especially here at Lime Rock with the right-hander. You want to drag the one that's pointing into the corner. That's going to make the turn in easier. So that's kind of my mindset on that. Sorry for the extra there. But we are running the 50.5% cross weight. As far as the settings here, they're here on screen. I don't want to really kind of read through them all. I don't like talking. I stumble on my words sometimes, so I'll let you guys just kind of read what I have there on screen. That's how I achieved it. As far as fuel goes, I'm at 9 gallons this week. I'm burning just below 0.3 of a gallon per lap. The laps are under a minute long. So basically 9 divided by 0.3, it just maths out. You're essentially going to have 30 laps, which should cover the pace lap and everything. I'm not stressing fuel this week. No need to kind of push it too aggressively. But hopefully that kind of covers all that. I'm going to switch over to metric for everyone who uses metric settings. Hopefully that's helpful. I hope I explained the crossweight situation properly in a way that's easy to understand. But yeah, no, that's what we're running this week. Again, if you enjoyed this content, like the video, comment on the video. If you have any questions, I could explain why I did certain things with the setup. Or if you just want to let me know how your races are going, I really appreciate that. And yeah, thank you for watching. Hope you guys have great races. Let me know how they go and have a great day.